Hi everyone. So before we start to write code with Playwright, let's make sure that you have all dependencies and necessary tool installed on your machine. So first we will start with Node.js, which is JavaScript runtime environment. As you can see, the current version of the Node, which is recommended for most of the users, is the version 18. So in this course, we will actually use this version. So as you can see, I'm using the Mac machine, and then there is no problem at all to use Windows or Linux. The Playwright will work completely fine here. But another tool I'm using on the Mac machine is the Homebrew, but you can totally avoid it if you're using Windows machine. No problems at all. There is a possibility to install all the dependencies without it. But for the Homebrew users, as I told you, the installation is also pretty straightforward. You just copy pasting this command into your terminal, and it should be ready to go. Also, the necessary tool in our projects might be the NVM, which is Node version manager. This would allow you to easily switch between Node version. As for me, I'm working with a different Node version, and it's a really common tool that I'm using. The another thing is a Git, which allow me to push my code to GitHub and keep the workflow. So if you want to follow me along this course, this tool would be necessary, as we will work with GitHub actions, and we want to push our code to the GitHub. Also, for somebody who using Brew, there is also the possibility to install Git with a Brew. Just Brew install Git in your terminal. Also, another thing to follow me along this course, I'm currently using Yarn along this course, but feel free to go with npm if you feel comfortable with that. So as you know, the Playwright is a Microsoft product, and they are trying to highly integrate with each other. So then that's why Playwright worked perfectly with the GitHub and VS Code. There is one extension for the Visual Studio Code, which kind of allow us to run commands via UI, etc. So if you want to also follow me along in this way, please download the Visual Studio Code. And the extension which I mention is the Playwright extension. So inside your Visual Studio Code, just go to the extensions and try to find the Playwright. The installation is also pretty straightforward. You just press the install and you will be ready to go. So that's it. You now have a fully set up dev environment, and we are ready to go into a Playwright. Also, before we dive into some real code examples with a Playwright, let me briefly explain you what Playwright actually is and why is the most powerful tool on the market, in my opinion. So Playwright itself works with all major browsers like Chromium, WebKit, Edge, and Firefox. Also, there is no big difference for a Playwright if you want to run your test on a Linux, Windows, Mac machine, on GitLab CI, GitHub CI, on any CI actually, headless mode, headed mode. This all is supported via Playwright. The Playwright also allows you to emulate the native web application for Chrome, for Android, and Safari. So let's start with the actual Playwright framework installation. As we can read from the documentation, the installing of the Playwright seems so easy. There is no real description of additional tool we needed. As I said before, the only really necessary to run the Playwright is the Node.js. So we go ahead and copy the command with the yarn create Playwright. Otherwise, we can use the npm pnm. So we go to our VS Code, and then via terminal menu, we can open the new terminal. So you can see I use my VS Playwright course repo, which is currently empty, and I'm on the main branch. This repository will be possible to check if you want and to align with me. So we wait a bit before it's really start to download the Playwright, and then we are allowed to choose our language which we want to use for this framework. We will start with the TypeScript, and by default it's put in our end-to-end test into the test repository, test folder, sorry. And we would allow to do that. For now, we don't want to add any GitHub action workflow. We will work with this later. But as you can see, the Playwright just from scratch allows you to configure it. So here the Playwright asking us to install all the related browsers for it. And typically we want to actually do install it. So we will wait a bit before the old packages will be resolved. All right, so we can see that everything is installed perfectly, and then we'll walk through all the folders which was created by Playwright, and also as you can see there is the basic commands which can be used in our project. We will also back to this command later, but long story short, the yarn Playwright test is here to run all end-to-end tests. The Playwright test -UI is open the UI interactive mode. The project Chromium allows us to run our test only on the Chrome browser. We can specify any test we want to run. We can run in the debug mode, the the code gen test, and of course the default one is a yarn Playwright test. So as you can see, the folders which was created by Playwright is the node modules, of course, which was installed firstly, and then we have some example spec files which was generated by Playwright. Also there is some test examples which are showing us what methods we can use, how to use it. Those are really good examples. I make sure to just make sure to check all of them. There is a ton of possibility to find everything you need. There is also a folder for a package JSON where we can install our scripts, all the needed dependency for Playwright. And of course the Playwright config file, which is describing basically where we basically describe how we want our test to run. So we can see there is a lot of configuration in here, and for example, the first of all is that actually the directory of our test. By default is the tests folder. We can run our test in parallel. By default is true. This line is actually quite useful. For example, if you forget to delete only from your test, this will actually skip it. And there is also retries on CI by default. The workers, so by default we have the 4 workers for our test, but on CI there is only 1 worker by default. The reporter, set it up for the HTML. As you can see, there is different possibilities to set up reporter, like .line, GitHub. There is a lot of third-party reporters like other reporter. In this option, we can actually set up a lot of things. For example, which browser to run, and for example, to collect trace when the failed test. By default, there is 3 projects described. So as you can see, this is Chrome, Firefox, and Safari. There is a lot of different possibilities, and Playwright do show example of all of them, like mobile Safari. You can pick your device. There is a big list of devices. And Microsoft Edge and Google Chrome, for example. We also have gitignore file to not push our node modules or test results, reports, or cache to the GitHub folder. And the yarn log file is automatically generated once we install our dependencies. So let's actually finally start to write some code. We start from deleting the example spec file, and we will create a folder to make the structure for every video like more clear. We will call this workshop -1 workshop -1. In this workshop file folder, we will create the spec file. This would be called workshop-1.spec.ts file. All right, we'll start with a simple example. Let's actually import our test from the Playwright. Actually, the first step for writing the test is to write the test description of itself. So in our first test, I want to actually go to the GitLab page and make some interaction and make us see how actually the framework works. All right. So let's call it basic navigation. And of course, as we wait for some elements, a lot of the time using browser, we are definitely should use async await here. So as you can see, I'm passing this page argument here. So this is required by Playwright because every browser context can have multiple tabs open and multiple pages. So basically, currently we are operating on a single page. That's why we want to pass it, and we let to know Playwright that actual page is opened. So let's move along and just pass the first command. So we want to use page.goto, and the actual website will be the gitlab.com. Let's make it a little bit easier and just copy the link from the GitLab, right? Let's make it shorter, and then we will try to paste it right here. All right. So we have the first step. Actually, this is the page.goto command. It's trying to go to the page, to the URL we are actually described. The second command is I already know that we do have to wait some time, and you will have the possibility actually to see the content because the Playwright is really fast. So we won't able to actually see the page because it's open and then will be closed. So I will wait that I will do add the timeout here. So the method for Playwright is wait for timeout. And as you can see, there is a ton of method here. You can scroll all of them. We will use a lot of them actually, but there is a lot of main one which you reuse. So we'll do the wait for timeout. Wait for timeout. Okay. And we put 300 milliseconds here. All right. Then what we actually want to do just for visual aspect, we want to add some page.reload. Okay. So basically we already have our first test set up, and let's actually try to run it. Yarn Playwright test. As you can see, it's run on the 3 browsers using 3 workers for each of them. The test took us actually 10 seconds and 4 milliseconds. And as you can see, we didn't really see nothing, right? So for our Playwright test, let's add something like headed. This flag allows us to actually run the browsers in a headed mode, because by default the Playwright is running into the headless mode, which make the test run faster and allowing us to run those tests on a CI. As you can see, all 3 browsers are open, and we're waiting for 3 milliseconds for a timeout, and now the browser will be reloaded, so all our steps are completed. Let's actually interact with some elements on a GitLab page. As before, we want to create another test with a description. Let's call it interacting with the web elements on GitLab. As previously, we want to use async, has the page. All right. So as in this test, I will just copy this line because we are actually going to the same web page, the gitlab.com. And so right now we want to actually click on some elements, right? So let's open our GitLab page. So by pressing Command Option J, you can open the developer tools. You can also just right click and press the inspect. So it's by default will be inspecting some element. So actually, what first came to my head is to click this accept all cookies button. So actually to select this button, we can use the different option to operate on this locator. There is an option to select it via XPath, where we actually put in the whole path to the element from our page. There is option to select it as ID, class, or different way like name, etc. And also Playwright provides its own different ways how we can select the element on the page. So by default, we can see there is a beautiful ID right here, and why not to use it? Let's not overcomplicate it. Okay, let's go back to our test. And what we want to do, we want our page to actually click on element. And here in the click method, we can provide the actual ID of this element. So let's put the hash for ID and just paste the ID of the accept button element. Let's just make sure that this part of the test is working. And to run only this test, because we are not interested in this test for now, let's put the only keyword here. And as previously, we will run our test with a yarn playwright test. You can see those all three browser passed. Let's make sure that it's actually click on the button. So we would like to run this only on Chrome, right? Because it's not really visible to run all three browsers at the same time. Let's put the headless flag, and check how it works. Open the browser, open the link, click the accept button. Perfect. So let's actually do something more on our page. For example, we want to fill the registration form and we want to get in there. Okay, let's get back to our website, and as you can see that actually we can get a free trial where will be redirected to registration form. But the interesting thing that there is two buttons actually. So and also there is a different way how to handle it. As you can see that there is a class which not really saying us what this button actually about. So let's make it something meaningful. Let's take actually the ID from the container with navigation mobile. And also let's use the locator method, because the locator method is actually taking only the ID of the element or the selector itself or the XPath, and then we will tell the Playwright how to operate on this locator. So let's put as before the ID of this element. I did copy paste it, and as you remember that there is a two element of those. So if we only specify by navigation mobile, we actually want to tell more which element is it. We can of course operate through the locator and put the all necessary information here, but the Playwright provides us possibility to get element by role. So as we know, within this container there is a link, right? We actually want to click. So this button, get free trial. Playwright provide us a method like get by role. So in this get by role, we first providing which actually element we want to click, and for us this is a link. And we also want to provide the name which we want to click, which is the get free trial. And of course, at the end, we want to actually click on this element. All right, let's make sure that this works. And we will run it in Chrome with a headed mode. All right, as we can see, the get free trial button was clicked. So now we want to really move to the register form and fill some data there. Okay, as you can see, I already opened the register form, which I went from the get free trial. So there's a first and the last element. There's a lot of possibilities to get this element. As you can see, the most default one we want to use is a class, but it's not really telling us anything. So it might cause our test to be flaky. And we want to actually use the data test ID, which is, as its name said about that, we can use it for test purposes. So let's just copy it and take it from the locator method. And as before, we just paste it. And the one more thing, we should put the brackets here, like this, like this. All right. And actually fill it with the name. Let's put it the John one. So for the second element, the last name, it's pretty similar, right? The only difference is that new user last name field. So let's make it copy with the Command Shift and the arrow down. We'll copy the whole line. Let's just paste it here. The new user last name field, and of course to change it to the Snow 1, for example. Let's make sure that this is actually work. Okay, we press the accept cookies, then go to free trial, and as you could see, we actually filled the data. So as you can see that we really did write a lot of the code here, right? The Playwright provides us option to actually get element by data test ID. So we can actually use it. This would be pretty similar as before, but first let me just comment those two lines. I put it with a command slash, and in this line we want to, as previously, we want to do await page, but here is the difference. So we want to get element by test ID, and test ID by default is getting the data dash test ID without no dash. This also could be overwritten in our config. As you can see, the documentation from the Playwright is perfectly described. So if in our company we're using, for example, different way to get element, for example, data ID or something, there's always possibility to change it in a Playwright. So we can write less code for that. So the difference would be only that we would put the details from the data test ID without no selectors and fill it with the value John 1, and the same as previously, copy paste this line and fill it with the last name and Snow. Let's make sure that this solution is also working for us. Open the page, click the accept cookie, get free trial, and fill the page. As you can see, that was really fast, but later in our stage we would be able to see how to run tests just step by step. So as I said before, there is a lot of possibility how to actually get the selector with the Playwright, and let's actually show this with another test unit. Let's skip the previous one. The Playwright is providing us the skip method, which we can pass with the test. Instead of this only, let's put the skip. All right, so test, and we would call it using various locator method. Various methods. And of course it should be a sync. And we pass in the page and then returning it. Okay. What we actually want to do is that previously we want to navigate to the GitLab page. All right. So, and as before, let's take the let's click the cookie button. For the easier to understand, let's comment it that it's a cookie button. Cookie button, click. So now I want to click on our menu button, and let's use a different way how to operate with this selector. Find out actually what is the locator of menu button. As you can see here, there's no really much possibility how to get this button. But what we can do is actually get this name menu, main menu, and make it like it. We use the page dot get by role. And in here, we should pass first the HTML element, which is button, and then provide the name of it, which would be the main menu. And after that, we of course want to click it. Right? Let's make sure that this actually works. Accept cookies, go to menu button. All right? So after we click the menu button, we want to actually click the sign in. All right, let's also get sign in by role. As you can see, there is also no really options how to get this element by role, but there is a name of it, and as previously, let's click on the name of the element. So here what we're gonna do is basically the same line, and we just want to click the sign in. But the small difference here is only that we are clicking actually on link, not a button. Okay, we open the Chrome, accept cookies, menu, and link button. Perfect. Also, what we can do here is to comment this code for now and add something like await page dot click. So as previously we were using this click method already, the difference is we don't assign the locator, we're just passing it through the click method. So once we go to the GitLab web page, we want actually to click on the sign in button. So there is possibility in the Playwright, there is an argument which looks like this, is has text. So as it said, we are basically passing the text in it, and what we want to pass in sign in. Let's check if it works, and maybe provide us some timeout after it, so we will be actually available to see that this button is clicked, this link is clicked, sorry. Right? Open the page. And also let's make sure that our code will land on our repository, right? Use the git method, git commit, and put the message following main workshop 1. And of course I did forget to add all the files into the track. So as you can see, the git also advising us to use the git add. We will use the git add space dot, which is basically adding all of our files to the git. And then we actually can use our git commit method. And after it, we will use the git push main. And before that, we put the origin. All right. So now we are ready to go. You see, those are pretty common things which I'm always forgetting about. but those are necessary. So in this video, we did learn how to operate with the locators, how to use different methods, and how to actually navigate through the pages. So tomorrow we will learn how to interact with the forms. We'll automate our test to make it work with the input elements, radio buttons, and more. See you tomorrow.